Good evening. This is Gloria Taylor Brown with the 36th edition of A Gathering of Priestesses. And this evening we have with us Sharron Rose of Sacred Mysteries. And she has some very interesting things she's brought to us today. She has a new movie called The Last Avatar. And she also has a whole new line of jewelry that is absolutely gorgeous. Sharron has been a friend of mine for, I think, about 10 years now. I met her up in Seattle, and she wrote a book called The Path of the Priestess. Now, I had no idea whenever I was reading that book that one day I would be doing something called A Gathering of Priestesses. So when I got this show going, I got in touch with her, and I said, you know, I really have to have you on. Because, you know, in a way, you were the one that opened my eyes to the whole idea of being a priestess, who we could be, and she was right in the depths, shall we say, or is it the heights, of creating her movie and creating everything else that she's been doing. She's recently moved, well, she's bilocating in Colorado, so she'll tell you more about that. We also have with us, of course, my dear friend and co-host, Catherine Ravenwood. Thank you, Raven. Raven has had dental surgery today, so we're all going to send her a lot of sympathy, and we're not going to mention the fact that she doesn't have any mascara on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for not mentioning that.
I'm not mentioning that. That's right. So I want to ask Sharron to be here with us, and Sharron, you know, as I told you, we only have one set question on this show, and everything else kind of rolls from there. So I need to ask you, what started you on the path of the priestess?
I could go all the way back to 3 years old, actually, when I went into ballet. And in ballet is when I first started learning about being someone other than myself. Being princesses and fairies and all that kind of thing. But it really didn't. The priestess path came really when I went to India. Let's see, about 78, I was teaching modern dance in Boston, and I had this extraordinary, actually psychedelic experience in which I transformed into this goddess. And I was doing all these Indian expressions and movements that I had never seen in this life. They just happened. They just were flowing through me, and the sun was setting, and I saw this god in front of me who later I recognized as Shiva. And it felt like every movement that I made was creating reality around me. And I came back from that experience, and I ran into this man, this was in Boston, teaching at the same school I was teaching at called Joy of Movement Center, who had been the director of the National Dance Company of Pakistan. And so I walked into his class in Indian, 3 different forms of Indian classical dance, and I felt like I had come home. And he was a Muslim man. And I felt after about 6 months that I really needed to study with a Hindu woman. Mm-hmm. And by many synchronicities and really miracles, I ended up having first one was a professional development grant from the American Institute of Indian Studies and Smithsonian that took me to India to live with my Guruji, Sitara Devi, queen of North Indian classical dance. She had been an early Bollywood film star. Her family brought dance to Bollywood, and she changed my life. This is where my path, I'd done yoga, but she looked at me, she said, everything has to change. You dress like a man. You dance like a man. So she taught me the dance of Shiva first. And slowly over time, because I was living with her in the traditional way, she's also a tantrika. So I was getting really multi-layered teachings from her about embodying the goddesses. Well, the goddesses, the gods, the demons, all the characters from the Hindu mythology. And it was amazing. So she really set my feet on the path of the priestess.
So that was with 100 million gods, that must have been the crash course of the goddess. So,
well, we went to the main, so it was Durga, it was Saraswati, Radha, Kali, and of course Lakshmi. And then, of course, the males, their corresponding consorts.
right. Well, that sounds fabulous. And then along the way, somewhere along the way, you not only got involved in dance, but you got involved in acting and singing?
All along, I started acting and singing. Oh, I started singing lessons at 5.
Mm.
And as a child, I performed a lot, particularly for hospitals and homes for the elderly and in recitals and all of that. And then I kept going into theater in college, but always dancing. And then I got to this place in dance where it felt like whenever we had to do any improvisation in theater, I would really do all this physical improvisation and not speak so much. I'd get really good grades because I was so unique.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized at that time that I should go into dance, so I went and got my master's in dance. And it was a wild time because it was the late 60s and early 70s when all boundaries were breaking, and there was a lot of freedom for self-expression.
So when you went into the Indian dance, I mean, that's very, very different from the Western dance, very different from ballet, very different from jazz, very different from all of those. It's a much, as I understand it, and understand that my knowledge is not that of a scholar or even a practitioner, it's a much more, it's like the movements are set in a form that you're expected to follow exactly those forms. Even those forms are not exactly suited for the human body.
Well, Kathak, which is the one I chose, even though I studied a number of them, is in many ways the most accessible to a Westerner. Because it's a mix of the ancient Hindu dances and the Sufi dances. So it's a mix of the Persian, the Mughals, and the Hindus. That's why it's so beautiful. So in that, you don't, like in the South Indian dances, you need to stay down deep in plie. And also the interesting thing about Kathak is that it's about, yes, it has incredibly powerful and exacting form, which I love. You know, it has this form, but within that form, it's really about the virtuosity of the artist and bringing out their light and their spirit and their joy and their creativity. So it's not like in other Indian dance forms where you have to do exactly the same thing every time. This has a lot of freedom of self-expression, which I was thrilled about because what I preferred in modern dance was improvisation.
So would you consider this to be more northern India, or would it, yeah, okay, all right.
Indian. The history is very interesting. It was when the Aryans came into North India, they brought this Vedic tradition, and the way that was transmitted to the people were through what were called kathakas, or dancer storytellers. And so they embodied all the stories in the temples. And then when the Mughals, so the Muslims, came into North India, they kind of put those people to the side and brought in their stories. It was more, they kept the Krishna stories because it was so much like the lover and the beloved stories from the Sufi tradition. But they added in all these spins and really fast footwork and virtuosity that is reminiscent, because it was a court form at that point. And then my teacher's father, who was from Benares, he was a poet, and he went up to the court of Nepal where his brother was a musician. And he saw a Hindu version the old Hindu version because it was a Hindu court of Kathak, and he decided that he wanted to devote his life and the lives of all his children to the revival of this Hindu tantric embodiment, storytelling form. So in being with Sitara, my guru, I was able to go deep into both the Hindu aspect and the Sufi aspect.
Okay, so Raven and I have both seen the Sufi dancers in Egypt dance, and they are magnificent. Frankly, I get dizzy watching them. Can't imagine how they can do it without getting dizzy. But another friend of mine was raised in Thailand, and we were talking about the reason I asked this is because we were talking about Thai and Balinese dance. And her statement was that if you aren't raised in it, you can't do it because your body was never trained to do those things. And I know that, you know, she may be overstating the case, but I do think that in some ways those extreme movements are something that you have to be incredibly supple in order to learn and to develop that ability. And I know that you've trained dancers, so that's why I'm bringing it up for you, because I know there's a lot of people that are interested in dance and interested in learning dance. And, you know, it's like, what can you reasonably expect? Can you expect to do it well enough to be happy with it?
You know, in the end, for me, it's about a spiritual transmission. As the dancer, you are embodying deity. You are embodying deity. And your job is to transmit the light of deity to the audience. Now, there are people I've seen in India in particular who have unbelievable technique. And they can every little tiny, you know, raise every eyebrow and do all kinds of amazing things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they carry that light and can project that light. And to me, that's the most important thing. And that's really what I teach. It's really about discovering the light of your own divine essence and projecting that through music, through dance, through film, through everything that you do.
So are you still teaching dance?
I haven't taught for a while because I've been so focused on the movie.
Okay.
But as soon as I'm through this phase, I have I wrote a whole, it's like a river dance for the goddess.
Ooh, cool.
Music, it transits India, Egypt, the goddesses of Egypt, and some Tibetan and Sophia. It's really a very interesting experience. And also what happened was, in the West, I started realizing that it wasn't so much about me being the performer. It was about the community experience. So I started making rituals, goddess rituals, in which there were a number of parts so that a full community of people could feel that energy of the goddess flowing through them in ritual of like purification and protection and healing and those kinds of things. So I feel like it's more important for the people to be involved rather than just watching me dance, that they get the feeling, even if all they can do is go clap in threes, they've got a part.
Right. Well, you know, our friend Reverend Ione, who's been on this show a couple of times, has created a couple of operas where she involves the community into the opera. And then we have, you know, a number of dancers who've been on. And I think that one of the things that is happening now is that there is a reaching out of a bringing in of our community, of our sisters, that we want to be part of this group. We don't want to be the audience anymore. We want to be part of it. And we want to perform. One of the things that I did several years ago was called Becoming an Oracle, which I did with Nikki Scully. And I was just thinking that it would go really well with your dances because we go all the way around the world with exploring the different oracles. and everything from the tarot to ayahuasca to the dream time of Australia. And so, you know, and it's bringing all of that. I mean, one of the things that I like about the internet is that it gives us the opportunity to learn about others without having to leave home or without having to go into a deep study for many, many years. I mean, when I was studying Egyptian mythology when I was younger, it required going to a library and sitting there and spending a great deal of time with very boring books, quite frankly. And then trying to figure out from that how I could pull the spirit out of that information that was written by those very boring Englishmen. Or as Normandy says, bless their hearts. So, you know, and I think in dance, you know, you are in dancing in the form, but you have to bring it home at some point. You have to bring it into your body, into your belief system, into your world. So I really applaud you with that. And I do also applaud you with the fact that, you know, you've explored a lot of different avenues of design and what have you. So, I mean, we've got to move on and talk about, now you did the movie 2012, yes. And that one was done in about 2010, 2011, right?
No, it was 2007.
2007. Oh, see, time flies.
We began the whole thing. Well, Jose and John, but that movie just opened the door because it was shown in about 350 unity churches and spiritual centers. So it really brought the whole 2012 idea out. It was kind of the birth of it in the next level after Jose and all the scholars.
That was Jose Orjuelas, right?
Yes, what a lovely human being he was.
Yeah. So I just, you know, we might be talking about a different Jose, you know, the one that washes our car or something. Okay, that was not culturally sensitive. Sorry about that. But now you have a new movie, and the new movie. Tell us a little bit about the new movie.
Well, this is our first actual feature film that is not a full narrative. It's a full narrative film, so actors. And that was our dream. We started with doing documentaries, and then we had the dream of moving on to features. And actually, we moved from Seattle into Ashland, Oregon at that point so that we could find actors, because I have the Shakespeare Festival. And we started, Jay wrote the script, Jay, my husband, and then we started 4 years ago filming, and it took us a very long time, but we finally crafted it into something that we are proud of.
So tell us a little bit about the actors you did use, besides yourself.
The main character is played by Alexander Polinsky. Now, some of you might know him from, as a child, he was in the TV show Charles in Charge. He was the child in that. And then he has also been in a number of really good films, one called Saints and Soldiers, and he does a lot of work in voiceover area with, you know, animation. I had met him during the 2012 conference we had in LA. That's when I first met him. And he's a very talented young man and has helped us with the movie in many ways. He helped with sets, he helped with the assistant director. He's a very talented kid. And then, of course, we found our neighbor in Ashland was Neil Donald Walsh, of Conversations with God fame. So we needed someone to play Count Saint Germain.
Oh.
And Neil just seemed like the perfect person. And what a doll! What a wonderful person as an actor. When he came in to the cast, the whole energy, much calmer, much more actual professional. He was just lovely, lovely to work with. And then the lead, the female lead, is played by Adi. Now, Adi, I was working on my Egyptian music, which is in 3 parts, different rhythms, different spoken phrases, and a friend ran the World Music Choir in Ashland. So she said, you should come and join the choir so you can hear some other composers from around the world writing in parts. So I walk in, and there's the cutest girl, so cute, sitting in the alto section. And I go sit next to her, and we start talking. And she has perfect pitch. She has this amazing voice. And then we were casting for the movie, so I said, well, have you done any acting? And she was about 27 at the time. She's like, of course, of course. So the audition, she was amazing. Then Alexandra fell in love, so she got extra acting lessons. And then she played, about 9 months in, she'd written her first CD, Rogue, and she played it for us, and it was so beautiful. She's so talented that we decided that she was going to write the score. And so I've been working with her ever since. She's also with me on Shasta Style music.
Okay. Well, I wanted to play the trailer for The Last Avatar, and then we can talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
And let's see.
Who are you? One moment, I was Jack Orion.
Funny how your memory leaves you right after you're born. It can take decades sometimes for people to even remember who they are or why they're here.
Do you believe that the universe is infinite? Open your mind, Jack. You can become whoever it is you want to be.
Once you make, you can't go back.
If the prophecies are correct, he is Kalki. And if he is Kalki, you must terminate him.
Jack, wake up.
How can I become as good as you?
This will help.
Now, are you ready to wake up?
Thought I was awake.
If I succeed, then the human race can return to a time of splendor, time of wealth, time of happiness. This is a revolution of the spirit. What if they don't want to hear the truth?
They don't, Jack. What do you think?
Wow. So that is impressive.
Thank you.
That was so the story is that we are to be woken up.
Well, really, the Kalki, who is the last avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu. So Vishnu, the story is, it's where the word avatar actually comes from. And Vishnu is the preserver. That's his role. Vishnu and Lakshmi, his consort goddess of wealth. And whenever, during the whole cycle of time, whenever there are real serious problems on the earth, he becomes an avatar. It means he embodies, he becomes a material person or an animal, and he changes everything. So this is the last avatar of this age. So the one previous was Buddha. Before that it was Krishna and Rama. But Kalki is the final one. And the mantra that we use in the movie, Om Shrim Hrim Maya Shanan Shakti Namo Bhagavataye Sakriya Kalki Avatar Namaha. Essentially what that's saying is that he is the destroyer of illusion. But the moment that he destroys illusion, he brings the bliss of Shakti, of the divine feminine. And so he is here to really bring us out of the dark age of Kali into the new golden age. And particularly he's here to destroy all the illusions and the darkness that we've been dealing with for quite a while.
Wow.
But in the movie, he really is more, I think of him as a metaphor
Mm-hmm.
for each and every one of us. Because right now, really, we're in a time where many people are waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, let's see, one of his lines, he says, now we are becoming conscious of our power to remake the world. And I believe that's very important right now with all of the things that are going on politically and culturally and all the divisiveness, that it's really time to open up and discover our real power as human beings, as spiritual beings. Jay and I are always talking about the issues that face us, we feel, and all our movies have spoken to this, that these issues are not really political. We can't solve them on a political level. We can only solve them on a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
And so the movie in its campy, wild form, because it's very out there with light bodies and transmissions of knowledge by priestess underneath Mount Shasta, and it's very psychedelic. Yet at the same time, the message is very powerful.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't go to Shasta.
Well, we did.
Well, I know, but you didn't stay there.
Oh, I didn't live there, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, you know, what happened was Jay was asked to come and be director of original programming for Gaiam TV.
Oh, okay.
So that's what brought us back to Colorado.
Yeah, so I wanted to give Jay his due as well. And Jay's on his way down to Sedona, I believe, in a few days, or tomorrow, so Jay Wiedner. And Raven, did you have some questions you wanted to ask Sharron?
How are we going to watch this movie, Sharron?
Well, we just had 2 weekends of preview screenings at Boulder that it was well attended, and I'd say 90% of the people really enjoyed it. They told their friends, they came back, they loved the message. But now we're in phase 2. Phase 2 is where, like we've done with 2012 and our other films, where we open it up to the Unity churches, the Center for Spiritual Living, New Age centers, people that want to get together and rent a small theater, all of the people who have been supporting us and more throughout all these years. Now we have on the website host a screening, and then people can do that. Also, we have distributors that are interested, and we'll see how that goes.
All right. Wonderful.
Think that Episcopalian church would be interested?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, I wonder if we could watch that where I work.
Yeah, Raven's the church manager at the Episcopalian church in Albuquerque.
Oh, well, the Episcopalian church would definitely like this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have these scenes where I guess you could see a little in the trailer, where we're in, the capes with the hoods and the lanterns and speaking Lemurian, and I know myself that I'll watch almost any movie that has, the priestesses.
I love it. It looks great.
Thanks.
I do have a question for you. After your 2012 movie, and I didn't see it, I apologize, I didn't see it, but I know a lot of people who really got into 2012 as the end. And I know one person in particular who spent, I think she told me, up to 15 hours a day on websites, studying the 2012 websites, and told her husband that she was going to disappear and leave. And she didn't. And, I mean, I really like this person, and I haven't talked to her much since then. She doesn't call me anymore, doesn't return my calls. And I'm wondering if you can just talk to us a little bit about the intense slant that went on 2012 of, we're all going to wake up somewhere else, which I did not buy into. I know Gloria didn't buy into. I can see you didn't buy into it. But a lot of people did. And so could you just maybe explain what really happened? And how you see it, because I think a lot of people just kind of hung their head and went, oh, I don't talk about that anymore. And they spent years getting ready to, do something else, and it didn't happen, and they must have 2012 PTSD.
Well, the reason we made the movie to begin with was we figured that the mainstream media was going to take this idea and turn it into the end of the world.
Right.
And we wanted to we do this with everything we do. We want people to know how powerful they really are and what they can do to wake up and to help the planet and help each other. So the movie was really, and Timewave 2013, it had that kind of slant on it. What can we do? And what's really interesting, when I look back on it now and I see Alberto Villoldo going on describing what was going to happen and that we're going to have cascading crises, and the Caro talking about, how the lie was going to be the truth, and all these things that they talked about have happened.
Yeah.
Have happened. And so, and also, of course, the History Channel and the mainstream media did turn it into the end of the world, but the world didn't end.
No, it didn't.
It didn't end, and for me, it was also, in many ways, like the last Avatar, a metaphor and a mechanism by which we can talk to people about who we really are, how much power we really are,
right.
and the effect of we'll call it the cultural trance, the hypnosis, in the pagan world it'd probably be called the glamour, that has been put over us, the kind of mind control that has been put on us so that we cannot really even see our true selves. And all the work that we've done with that, and also with The Last Avatar, is about that. It's about showing people that we are so much more than we are taught. And so, yes, I remember with the 2012, well, everybody and their cousin, once we did it, was writing a book, and they 2012 this and 2012 that, but and then there was all the things about people were going to ascend, and
right.
But for me, it's really not about ascension at all. It's about, there's so many of us who have gone for many, many years into the metaphysical traditions from all over the world. And I keep saying now, instead of going out there, let's now bring all that knowledge into our bodies and become it. And that's the only way.
It's interesting to me that I call it the born-again New Agers. It's the whole rapture thing.
Yes.
They put the Christians down all day long, and they badmouth it all day long. Oh, that's so terrible, that's so square, that's so yesterday. And yet they're after the same thing, which is, let's rapture and get out of here. And that always amazes me. It's like, why do you want to get caught up in leaving and past life, immersing yourself in past life things, when you can't balance your checkbook, hold a decent conversation, or behave yourself in circle? Get with it, So it's always so interesting to me how people want to leave, and they'll just take whatever flavor they can to escape and get out of the responsibility of it and the joy of it.
That's the thing. Well, I've been deep in the Tibetan tradition now. I've been a practitioner it'll be 30 years this year. And the first thing you learn is that your body is a temple.
Absolutely.
How precious and amazing it is to actually have a physical body.
Yes.
It's through the physical that you become enlightened. You don't just fly off and have someone come and save you. We have one line in the movie where Count Saint Germain is talking to the young man, the lead, who's trying to find himself, and he said, you're always looking for something, Jack. You're always looking for, a woman, a drug, a savior. And so one of our big messages in that film is also about how much power we have within ourselves, and that we don't need to look out there, that we need to actually look inside and recognize the light and beauty and amazing power that each one of us.
Yeah.
Well, one of the basic principles
let me just
behind
say
this
one more
show.
thing, Gloria. One more thing.
Okay.
You know, the Greek theater always had what they called deus ex machina, the god on the machine that would come down and save the situation. And I think that for thousands of years, it's been, you know, it's been the whole thing of God is going to save you, like you said, the Savior. But you talk about embodying the goddess, embodying the God, and that is the difference to me. Is taking that in and becoming that god or goddess in what you do. And that's what I think is beautiful and different about that path, as opposed to just calling on, you know, just being, I don't know, just worshiping from afar. But to be able to bring it inside of you, that's really beautiful to me.
Well, in my book, I talk about how we, the goddesses, are actually role models for us. Because I grew up, that's part of the reason I wrote the book. When I grew up, you know, in the 50s and 60s, who were our role model? You know, the women were at home. There wasn't, you know, maybe some actresses.
Yeah.
But I didn't find what I was looking for until I got to India. And I saw and felt this deeply spiritual experience that really was not about the ego. That's the big thing. And also what has really helped is the mind training that I've gotten from the Tibetan tradition. And in many ways it ties into one of the concepts we bring into the movie is about the Archons. You know about the Archons. It's from the Nag Hammadi, which were the texts, the Gnostic texts that were found in the 50s, and so that's a completely different teaching about Jesus. And of course, in those teachings, they revere also Mary Magdalene.
Right.
But they have this concept called the Archons, and the Archons. I first heard about it from John Lash, who's a Gnostic scholar who wrote an amazing book called Not in His Image, which that book really returns to us of like Europe, our pagan shamanic roots in this very powerful way. And so then he's talking about the Archons as they saw the Archons as this alien parasite, like a psychic virus that came 6,000 years ago and preys upon our light bodies. And so the mind training that I've received from the Tibetan has really started to show me, especially now that I'm able to go into retreat in a place where I can look out at completely these high mountains and very quiet. I start to learn that my mind can be very quiet too, and to differentiate between that essential light of who I am and the chatter, the archonic. So the Archons, they lust after greed and torture and suffering. They're vampiric in that. And they in the mythology, they kind of embed themselves in your light body. And you can feel when they start attacking, because all of a sudden you become really negative. And so in the work we've been doing, it's really looking at how do you differentiate between the mind patterns of the cultural trance and what's really your essential being. So everything we do leads to those kinds of questions and looking into those kinds of concepts.
Very nice, thank you.
One of the principles of this show is the idea that a priestess is, and as far as I'm concerned, a priest too. I know we have some men watching tonight. A priest is one who embodies the god or goddess here on earth. It is through us the actions of God are made manifest, of the divine are made manifest, that we reach out through our hands, through our eyes, through our mouth. It is with our body we can make the actions of God, goddess, divine, reality. And without us, it doesn't happen. It doesn't. There is no way for God to express himself. You know, I mean, there's nature, but there's no way for God to express himself in the minute, in the daily actions of others. And it is by being a priestess and accepting that role that we have to move forward into the lives of others and help them move forward into their life as a priestess, their life as a priest. And it's interesting, this idea of the Archons. I always have just referred to them as the reptile people. So, you know, and I've seen them a lot of times present. And Raven and I have had discussions about them. And when we were, you know, they can make life very miserable for you if you allow them to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. Well, you can see their influence completely in a lot of the movies that we see now. There's a new genre of horror movies called torture porn.
Oh, yeah.
That's very archonic. The total desacredization, if that's a word, of sexuality is archonic.
Mm-hmm.
We, as priestesses throughout the centuries, have been the holders of sacred sensuality, the teachers of the birth rights, of the healing rights, of the sexual rights, of the death rights. And those, the powers that be, if you want to call them, the Archons, they can't deal with sacredness. They've been doing their best to have it so that women will want to have sex with multiple partners just as a visceral thrill. You know, we've been kind of conditioned to think, oh, that's really freedom, when it was us, the female, that really held the sacredness of the family and of the body. And we were always the teachers of the sacred sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also part of the work that I'm doing, is to really put people back in touch with that beauty and that sacredness of when two people join together. And that is, well, in the tantric tradition, you know, when you're in the sexual relationship, you are having the closest experience to actual merging with the divine. You're in a situation where you would be like Shiva and Shakti.
Mm. Yeah, so it's wonderful, and I think that that's one where we could explore a great deal more, but I'm going to go ahead and explore another way that you're expressing yourself, as in the beauty and the divine, which you're showing us in the earrings that you have on. You want to move your hair back so they can see that, and then I'll share the screen. You can tell us a little bit about these wondrous earrings that you have designed.
Thank you. Well, let's see. It was about 4 years ago. We were working on the costumes for the movie, Last Avatar. And I was living in Ashland, and this young woman came in, and she had made a pair of feather earrings. And I said, I need those. Can you make me? And we designed a few pairs, and we wear them in the movie. Mm-hmm. And then I kept wearing them. And everywhere I went, like even soccer moms in the supermarket in Colorado, they're like, where can I get these? I want these. And so I said, oh, you know, I should try designing. And so down in Crestone, Colorado, I went and designed a whole bunch of them. And then I have contracted out to these young women who live there who are single moms and at-risk women, and I give them work in making these earrings, and that makes me feel really good. I really enjoy working with these young women. I want to be the mentor that I never had. Well, I got when I went to India, but in America I didn't really have someone like that to help me and guide me.
Yeah, so let me present these and show people what these look like. I'm going to have to, yeah, here it's Shasta Style, and you're selling them through Etsy. But here's the black and white ones. The ones I really like are the one, obviously, with the peacock.
Yeah, and we embedded a lot of my teachings from my book in here, so that each pair has its own unique name. So there's 5 different categories: winged shamaness, and winged medicine woman, and winged priestess, and winged yogini, and winged oracle. And I came up with that. I was visiting Robert Lawler, who wrote Sacred Geometry, who is one of my mentors. He also worked with Schweller de Lubitz in the Egyptian tradition, so he's been an amazing mentor for me. He was talking about, he wrote a book recently about the end of time, and he was talking about that at the end of this cycle, when we start the next cycle, that we are going to have wings. And I always see the light body, like, you know, the Egyptian Isis with all the wings. I always see that as a manifestation of the light body. So then I thought, I'll just call it winged this, winged that. We'll just be going on to the next level of who we're going to be as human. And then when people started putting them on, I noticed that immediately their light increased, and they became more joyous and playful and sensual in a very lovely way. So it's been really fun. And then in she's a gorgeous dancer, by the way. And then in January or February, we're adding clothing. I've been working with a number of young designers in Boulder. And so we're going to be adding clothing as well that goes with the whole lifestyle and earrings and such.
So these are currently available through Etsy. Go to Etsy.com and look up Shasta Style.
Or you can just go to shastastyle.com and it'll take you to Etsy.
Okay. Yeah, gorgeous girls.
They're all from Crestone. They live in a lot of light there.
Yeah.
She's also a beautiful dancer. Oh, there she is.
Maybe so you guarantee that if we buy your earrings, we'll become beautiful dancers?
And well, I don't guarantee, but it's certainly, especially also if you have short hair, and all of a sudden you wear it, you feel like you have long hair.
This is what I love. Isn't she adorable?
Oh, yes. She's Luna Blue. That's her name.
Gloria, click on those purple ones.
The purple ones. Okay. I don't see purple ones. I'm going to have to go back.
Down there, you have to go back or something.
Yeah. All right. Let me go back and find. Raven wants the purple ones, obviously.
There they are.
The violet ray.
That's the one I want to see.
Oh, so then what we did was each one has a description of what its energy is, and then what feathers are in it, and the magic inherent, the energy inherent in all of the feathers.
Nice.
So it describes like what is a shamaness in the shamaness pairs, and then the energetics of feather medicine, in which we talk about, the energy of the different feathers.
Yeah. There, that's prettier than the text, Gloria. Show us the purple.
Well, I just was showing that the information is there. Yeah. So, take the opportunity to look at it.
Beautiful again.
Yeah. And lovely girls. And there's a close-up of the earring. Now these can also be worn as necklaces, I understand.
Oh, they can be worn. Some people wear them with headbands, on barrettes. The new style, which I have, this is Amy, and she just had her baby. Actually, it's 6 months, and they flew her out of Crestone, and the baby's doing great. But she's my assistant in Shasta Style.
Ah, great. Well, they're absolutely gorgeous, and you know, totally beautiful. Obviously, individual for the individual who's wearing them. You know, so different people are going to find different ones lovely. Frankly, I want the ones with the peacocks on them because I have this thing about peacocks. I still don't know what that is, but I have peacocks all over my house. And they have been coming in for the last like 5 years. There was no peacocks before that, but all of a sudden the peacocks started arriving. And they're quite gorgeous, and as you can see looking at Sharron, they're quite wearable. And feather earrings are great because they're very, very lightweight, even with the abundance of feathers that you've got here. About how much do these weigh?
Very little. It depends. The ones with the most feathers, like they're called the medicine women, they're fairly, I mean, they're heavier because they have more, but we have now found, we have these ear cuffs, which I don't have here right now, but so you can put it around your ear, and so the heavier ones you can actually wear that way.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of people, especially short-haired people, seem to like that too for some reason. So then we're starting on these ones that are, it's a spiral, and then it's going to have feather, and that's going to be on a clip. So, because I've had requests from men now, they want their feather earrings too, or their feather adornments. So we're going to be soon making this new one, which will be part of the Oracle line.
No, fabulous. Look forward to seeing that. Maybe we can get a lei of feathers. I always like the feather lei.
Oh, yes. Well, we have this movie we've been talking about making for years that Jay wrote. The script is called The Bird People. I know how to. Yeah,
it's Raven.
The issue always was, how are we going to make these costumes, right? Well, now I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. When I was in art school, one of the projects I did was wings. And what we did was we took the material that you use to make rugs, and we tied torn fabric and feathers to the shapes of the wings. And they were quite fantastic. We did them in hung them on the walls, but of course they could have been used for dance class as well. I was just reading a book today. It was talking about ravens and the fact that there's ravens at the Tower of London, and if the ravens are removed from the Tower of London, that England will fall. So you know, there's a lot of the mythology around ravens, but there's a tremendous mythology around all the birds, because I think in some ways we're totally envious of the birds. You know, they get to fly by themselves for no reason at all. There's a group of birds that flies around a knoll down here that's outside my front window, and I'll sit and watch them in the morning, and they just fly for the joy of it. You know, they don't have any player to go. They have no agenda. They just fly. And I think that that's something that we have always been, you know, it's always been one of those things that we've wanted to be able to just reach out and take off. And the more we fly on airplanes, the more we want to do it without them. So not fond of TSA and airplanes. So now you have created a movie, a second movie, clothing, feathers, dance classes. What next?
What next? Well, I have to tell you this. Many years ago, I was talking to a Tibetan master, and he was talking about bodhisattvas. And he said, to be a first-level bodhisattva, you need to, they can do, like a lawyer spends his whole life learning law, and he becomes an expert. He said, but to be a first-level bodhisattva, you have to have 10 different areas where you're an expert. So I'm going for it. I'm going for it. As many different related areas. I never expected, for all those years when my whole focus was dance and theater and music, that I would be distributing a film, producing a film. But it's been a really fascinating experience. And next is to get the movie out, and to get the also the Shasta Style along with it. And then when that is done, it's wave. I feel like, we put it out now. The wave's going to come back, and then I'm going to finish up Shakti's Bliss, which is this musical presentation. We performed it once with the dance. Monique, who's in the movie playing the guardian of Lemuria, she was in that white, beautiful dress. She's an extraordinary dancer, Monique Trinity Rose. And so she's been dancing as Sophia and Isis for me. I took on the lion-headed Dakini, Singapuka, which is a pretty wild dance to do. So I'm thinking, even on my coming up Christmas vacation, to start working on the book that goes with the music. At this point, it's like I just take every day, as another experience. I try not to project too much, just be and allow spirit to move through me and life to unfold. Making a movie, feature film, is not easy. We had done like 18 documentaries prior. And that was always easy because Jay and I would just get on a plane, we'd go, we interview these people, I'd set up the set, he'd set up the camera, but this was a whole other level. And we've learned a tremendous amount. And, our prayer is that this movie will really, it's very timely. It will really be a benefit to people in helping them to understand how much power they have and who they really are, and that we can join together and shift this bizarre archonic overlay that's
So if people would like to help you get the movie out or have it played in their church or school or event, how should they get in touch with you?
They can go to our website, thelastavatarmovie.com, and so you have to put movie, because if you do just The Last Avatar, you end up with The Last Airbender. But thelastavatarmovie.com, and there's information on hosting a screening, or you can just write to screenings@sacredmysteries.com. And the way we have it set up with the contract is that generally, we supply the movie and all the banners and the posters and all the things you would need, the press release, and then we split the profits 50-50.
No, that sounds very reasonable.
Yeah,
they're not going to have that, but
we want everyone to benefit. I have to say, in this last year, when I've been working with all these women and going in the business world more, it's like I am looking in my own life, in my own way of, how can we as women and as spiritual beings find a different way to interact financially with people, so it's not so much greed, so that everybody is benefiting. And so that's what that's our path.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're doing that. And I want to, wish you well on all your other projects and your mastering of 10 different bodhisattva objects. We never know with Sharron what she's going to have next. So, And thank you so much for being on tonight. It has been a pleasure, and I'm delighted to be able to do the show and let people know about not only your jewelry, but also your movie. And it's thelastavatarmovie.com. And we will be promoting that on A Gathering of Priestesses, which is our group on Facebook. You can ask to join that group. I will check you out, and then you will be allowed to join. I am going to take 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. I'm not going to do the next 2 Tuesdays. We will be returning in the new year, and we have a great lineup. We're already booked through March, so if you'd like to be on the show, please get in touch with me. Althea Gray is going to be here in January 6th, and she is a friend of Rose Marcus from Vancouver, who was on earlier. Barbara Lindsay will be here on the 13th. Nikki Scully will be back on the 20th. And Hallie Evelyn, of Red Goddess Rising, who's another Egyptolated lady, will be with us on the 27th. And so we're looking forward to an interesting and wonderful year in the coming year, and we wish all of you very well and very good whatever season you are celebrating. Personally, I'm going with the Saturnalia. A friend of mine in Eugene's went out to cut down his Christmas Kwanzaa Hanukkah tree the other day. So, whatever it is that you're celebrating during this time, I hope you do it with your family. I hope you do it with great joy, and I hope you do it with joy and laughter as you move into 2016. We didn't end the world at 2012, and if we vote right in 2016, maybe we won't end the year then either. Bet you can't guess what side I'm on. Raven, I want to thank you so much for being on tonight, considering that you have had major dental surgery today, and wish you well in going down to Phoenix to see your sister and your family.
Yes,
and I know they'll be delighted to receive you and to have you there with them. Go and return in joy, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Lemons I get to come back with lemons from the tree.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
And Sharron, one more time, I want to thank you for being on, and offer my services in any way I can. Obviously, I want you to promote your movie and your jewelry on A Gathering of Priestesses, and also send me information to go into the Priestess magazine. One of these days, we're actually going to get it on the Apple newsstand. We've had a bit of a chore there. And for all of you out there, I want to say I love you very much. Please embody the goddess, embody the god, embody the divine, and express yourself as a priest or priestess as you move forward in the world. And during this next period of time, whenever there is Archons in all areas trying to pull you down, remember, you are divine. And we love you very much. Thank you for being here.